Things are unfolding at a rapid pace in Ukraine, more specifically Avdiivka, so much so that I felt the need to make this video where I analyze the front lines according to this one pro-Ukrainian source, and I'll tell you why I'm using this source in a minute, and talk freely about what's going on, how things are unfolding, and my take on it. A year ago, it was all about Bakhmut, as you well remember. The battle was a Russian victory, very costly and not very strategically significant, objectively speaking. The Ukrainians did retreat, and they're still holding the front lines. As you can see, it hasn't advanced much. The Russians are making continuous minor gains. Now it's all about Avdiivka, where you can see the Russians have since October made increasing efforts of taking this city, and it's been going meh until now, recently. So these are the front lines as of the 1st of February. In the end of January, Russian forces broke through here in southwestern Avdiivka, and the way they did that was by going through under the Ukrainian defensive lines through the sewers. They came back out on the other side and struck them in the rear, and that's how they broke through here. Now, let's take a look at what's been going on since the 1st of February. So, as you can see, they're breaking through in the north here, and then they reach the one Ukrainian supply line, or at least the main one, that is paved and that is used to transport sick and wounded out, and reserves, food, ammunition, and other supplies in. And now, in the last few days, this is what this pro-Ukrainian source depicts having happened. And this is significant. The Russians have taken the supply route and advanced beyond it, as well as here in the south, as you can see, they're surrounding the Zenit position, as it is being dubbed, a fortified Ukrainian position that a few months ago was the southernmost point of the Ukrainian defense here in the Avdiivka salient, and now risk being completely surrounded. As you can see on the map here, they still have supply routes out, although that's not, well, it is the case, but it's misleading, because if you look at the satellite map here, these are dirt roads. They are not like Industrialny Prospect, which was the main Ukrainian supply route, paved, defended, and effective. These are open fields where they are vulnerable to Russian fire. Why I'm using this pro-Ukrainian source are twofold. A, they have no incentive to show Russian gains that are not true. They have nothing to gain from it. Two, they're actually the only source, as of right now, that I've seen that depicts the Russians having advanced beyond the supply route. So this might not be true, or it might be the latest updates. Take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. Don't take it as gospel just yet. This is just if it's true, then it's a big deal, more so than the Russian victory in Bakhmut, because now Ukrainian forces risk being completely surrounded, not just here, but also here. So it's more like a double surrounding going on here in the south around Zenit. There's also been major changes in the Ukrainian leadership. Most of all, the commander-in-chief, which was fired by Zelensky. His name was Zalushny, and his tactic in the war was more like using the limited Ukrainian manpower where it's the most effective to inflict maximal casualties on the Russians. The new commander-in-chief Syrskyi, born in Russia, grown up in the Soviet Union, and totally schooled in the Soviet way of fighting, which might be exactly what the Ukrainian forces do not need at this moment, because he's more like Hitler was at the end of the Second World War, not a step back, fight for every inch and don't retreat. This decision could turn out to be not just a major defeat for Ukraine, but like the deciding defeat for Ukraine. This could change the outcome of the war. This worst case scenario for Ukraine could break their spirit, not just materially speaking, because if they are surrounded, then it's soldiers and goods that they are not getting back, but also battled, hardened troops with experience that are unreplaceable. I've read Western sources that state that the Ukrainian morale is already low. They are outgunned by Russian artillery 5-1, and the Russians are advancing quite rapidly up north, where there are not as many villages. So it's like more territory, less value. They're also pushing back here, where the Ukrainians made their main thrust in the Ukrainian counteroffensive, which failed. Let's talk about the reason why Zelensky fired Zaluzhny, because Zaluzhny was the better commander-in-chief, way more popular with the Ukrainian troops, which is another blow to the morale. So why was he fired? One thought is that Zelensky needed a scapegoat for the failed Ukrainian counteroffensive. It couldn't be Zelensky. It had to be someone else. The next best option was Zaluzhny. Another thought might be that Zelensky felt he needed a change of tactics. But then I would say replacing Zaluzhny with Syrskyi is a bad move. Ukraine cannot afford to fight this war the way the Russians are fighting. Russia has pretty much unlimited manpower. They can rotate their soldiers and keep on fighting with fresh troops. Ukraine is already low on manpower. Wikipedia, which is not a reliable source, states that Syrskyi just these last few days transferred their last reserves. If they are transferred to Avdiivka and lost, you know what that means. No more reserves for Ukraine. And if the Russians then break through rapidly, let's say here in Avdiivka or anywhere else, this could break the stalemate that's been going on for over a year now. This is the reason I wanted to make this video. Just looking at a grander scale here, frontline wise, it doesn't look like much, but this could change the outcome of the war. This could change it all, potentially. And I'm speaking worst case scenario here. I'm also using the source that showed the most Russian progress on this particular front. It could still be that Ukrainians are still holding the supply line and that things will improve for Ukraine, especially now with the new reservists, because they're not just the last reserves, they're also the best reserves, according to the same source. So don't take this dismal situation for granted. It's an extreme case, but it's also a pro-Ukrainian source, so that's worth keeping in mind. Basically, my point here was keep updated on what's going on in Avdiivka, and also I wanted to ask you, what do you think of this type of video where I just speak freely and improvise and give my thoughts on the front line and the events. Would you like to see more of these videos? Because it didn't take a lot of effort. I'm just improvising. What do you think? More of this? Yes? No? If yes, I might make more. Thank you for watching. Vologda out.